Glad you're back. I hope you had a good week. Well, today we've got another cool story. Remember last week we read a book called Better Than You, which was about Tyler and his friend Jake, who made him feel bad. And we've learned how Tyler figured out how to deal with Jake's boasting, right? And today we're going to read another book by the same authors and illustrator of Seeds and Trees that we read. That was a fairy tale about a prince. Well, today's another fairy tale about a different prince. It's called The King's Way of Life. Let's read, okay?
The King's Way of Life. Written by Bill Johnson with Brandon Walden and illustrated by Christian and Kevin Howdeshell.
This is the tale of a king and his sons in the kingdom their family was chosen to run.
The king was no more, and the people were sad. Their father had died. The sons lost their dad. Both sons had been given, their very first day, a necklace and compass to show them the way.
The compass was placed on a chain near their heart. It was worn in the light. It was worn in the dark. Their father was kind, and he never caused strife. He'd shown them that he knew the king's way of life. The king's way of life was leading while serving, being kind and generous to those undeserving.
Rule like a servant and serve like a king. Lifting up others is the best thing. These were the words the king spoke every day, his message the motto that he would always say.
They'd seen him show it time and again. If you live like me, he said, you'll always win. The king had ruled with wisdom and grace, wearing his compass through all of his days. His compass had led him, his kingdom had grown.
But now his two boys were left on their own. The king's elder son, whose first name was Thomas, was prone to deceit and could not keep a promise. But William the younger was more like his father. The king's way of life was never a bother.
Now, Thomas the older had chosen early on to be selfish and stingy and to do all things wrong.
He loved all the wealth that came to a royal, but unlike his brother, was mean and disloyal. He traded his compass for diamonds and jewels. He could not be trusted. He made his own rules.
The younger brother was more like the king, helping his people, made his young heart sing.
William was humble and generous too. His compass had shown him all that he should do.
The compass had helped him with every decision. He consulted it daily. He trusted its vision.
North told him yes, and south was a no. East meant go fast, and west said go slow.
The compass had proven time and again it was not only a compass, it was also a friend. Then came the day for a king to be crowned, but Thomas the elder was not to be found. He had left in a hurry during the dark night. He had fully rejected the king's way of life.
The nobles said William was now to be king. This was not something he had foreseen.
William lacked zeal. He had questions and doubted. Inside his mind, all worries, all shouted.
Would I be enough? And how would I lead? Would I rule like my father? And would I succeed?
Would father have waited? Would he have walked away and run from his destiny, or chosen to stay? While nervously pacing, he dropped his device, the compass that showed him the king's way of life.
Shattered and broken, it lay on the floor. The gift from his father now was no more. He couldn't rule now, William was sure, not when the future was so insecure.
He gathered his kingdom and told them his rule would not continue. He'd been a fool. So the town held a meeting. 3 men did apply. Men stepped up from the masses who weren't shy.
The first man to arrive had such strength in each arm, but his power was just used to cause others harm.
The next to apply was quite rich and greedy, and he did not share what he had with the needy.
The last who applied was loud and compelling, but he spent all his campaigning time yelling.
The people were worried. They needed a king, but not one who was greedy or loud or so mean.
The younger son, William, in his room, all alone, spent his day thinking of all he'd been shown. The guards then announced, "Now the votes are all in." But none who applied was the one to win.
William the Younger had won the town's vote. His name was the one that the people all wrote. The people all trusted young William's decisions. They knew the young king would now have a vision.
The kingdom rejoiced. They now had a king. The music had started. The people would sing.
But the humble new king spent his first night concerned. He tried to remember the motto he'd learned.
He woke in the morning, like each day before, but was not prepared for what was in store.
His compass was gone. It was broken in pieces. He thought to himself, "Now, how can I lead us?" William felt lost. "My compass is gone. It always showed answers that I relied on." He thought to himself, "Oh, what should I do? If only dear father had left me a clue."
And just like that, these words came to mind, the same ones he'd heard hundreds of times. Rule like a servant and serve like a king. Lifting up others is the best thing.
The compass was in him. He'd kept wisdom close. He'd lead like his father, through highs and through lows.
But his people lacked wisdom, and he thought of their plight. They depended on his words and the king's way of life. William went away quietly, his hand near his heart, where the necklace and compass were from the start.
As he held his hand there and he looked to the tower, he thought of a way he could use his power.
So he called the chief jeweler and spared no expense. His people would each have a compass, a friend.
They'd each gain wisdom through their device.
They each could now choose the king's way of life.
Then came the day that Thomas returned. He was bruised and battered from the lessons he'd learned.
William forgave him and did not cause strife. He gave him a gift, the king's way of life.
So remember, when you've gone astray, or it feels as though you can't find your way, the king's way of life will be your guide.
It's a motto, a compass, a friend on your side.
The end. Well, this was kind of interesting, wasn't it? Remember, it's a fairy tale, right? And a fairy tale means that there's stuff in here that's not real, right? Because, wow, wouldn't it be nice if there was such a thing as a magic compass that would tell you exactly what to do? You know, and wasn't poor William just devastated when his broke and he thought, oh no, I can't know what to do. I can't know the right thing to do. I can't do anything, right? It was broken. Until, what did he do? What happened? What happened? What happened? What did he remember? Oh my goodness, he remembered, what did his dad always say to him over and over and over? Rule like a servant and serve like a king. Lifting up others is the best thing. William discovered that, oh yeah, the king's way of life doesn't just exist in this magic compass. It existed in William's heart. It's kind of like us, isn't it? The Holy Spirit lives in us and really kind of is with us and helps us. And is there to comfort us and to help us make good decisions, right? So I hope you enjoyed this story. And I'll see you next week. I don't know what I'm going to read next week yet. I haven't picked the book yet. But it'll be a cool one again, right? Have a good week now. And again, I'll see you again. Bye.
See you next week.